The restaurant was quiet, like it always was on Wednesday nights. Soft piano music floated in the air, mixing with the gentle clinking of glasses and silverware. The lights from the golden chandeliers made everything look warm and perfect. But Michael Reed didn't feel perfect. He sat alone at his usual table, the one near the window, hidden behind a tall vase of white lilies. Across from him was the chair that had once belonged to his wife. It had been empty for 4 years now. His wife, Emily, and their little girl, Sophie, had died in a car accident on a rainy night he still couldn't forget. People told him to move on. His team kept him busy. But nothing filled the silence inside him. That's why he kept coming here. Same table, same meal, same emptiness. He looked down at the untouched plate. Steak, mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables. The smell should have made him hungry, but it only made him feel more alone. He lifted his glass of red wine, stared into it, and saw nothing. He had all the money in the world, owned a tech company everyone admired, but none of it could bring back what he lost. Just as Michael brought the glass to his lips, a quiet voice broke the air beside him. "May I have your leftovers, sir?" He turned his head slowly. A young woman stood beside his table, barely more than a girl. She looked no older than 19. Her coat was thin and wet from the rain, and her shoes were soaked through. In her arms, wrapped in a faded pink blanket, was a baby. The restaurant seemed to stop. Forks froze. Conversations died. A waiter stepped forward, ready to escort her out, but Michael raised his hand without looking. "Wait." She didn't move. She didn't beg. She only looked at him with steady eyes, holding the baby close. "I'm not asking for money," she said softly. "Just the food. For him." The baby whimpered, a soft sound like he was tired of waiting. Michael stared at her, silent. She had the look of someone who had been through more than most, but was still standing. Not broken. Just tired. Slowly, he looked down at his full plate, then back up at her. "What's his name?" he asked. "Liam," she replied. "He's 8 months." Michael nodded, and something shifted inside him. Michael pushed the plate gently toward her. "Take it," he said. She didn't snatch it or cry. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small cloth napkin. It was clean, but worn at the edges. Carefully, she wrapped the food like it was something precious. Then she knelt down on the restaurant floor, pulled a spoon from her coat pocket, and began to feed her son. Liam's eyes lit up as he tasted the mashed potatoes. He made a happy little sound, his tiny hands patting her chest. Then he smiled, wide and toothless, a smile full of life. Michael felt something sharp in his chest. Not pity, something deeper. Respect. The girl didn't look around. She didn't care who was watching. Her eyes were only on Liam, her hands gentle and sure. She didn't eat a single bite herself. She just kept feeding him until he stopped fussing. Then, with quiet care, she folded what was left of the food into the napkin and placed it back in her bag. She stood up slowly, holding Liam close again. "Thank you," she said, "not just for the food, but for the moment of peace." She didn't linger. She walked out, head high, into the rain. Michael didn't move. He sat staring at the door long after it closed behind her. The waiter returned. "Sir, shall I bring another plate?" Michael shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "She needed that more than I ever did." The music started again. Conversations picked up. But Michael couldn't stop thinking about the girl and her baby. Who was she? Where did she go after that? Why had her face stayed in his mind so clearly? He finished his wine, stood, and left a large tip. Outside, the air was cool and wet. He crossed the street to his car and sat inside, engine running. But he didn't drive away. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her. She didn't get on a bus or call for a ride. Instead, she walked quickly down a side street, holding the baby tightly against her chest. Michael waited a few seconds, then followed. She walked for a few blocks, then slipped through a gate into a cracked parking lot filled with broken-down cars. Michael parked at the edge, engine off. He watched as she moved through the lot until she reached an old, dark blue car in the far corner. She opened the back door and climbed inside. A tiny light came on, a small lantern. Inside, he saw her sit down carefully with Liam, laying him across her lap. That car, it was their home. Michael sat in silence, staring through the windshield. The fog on the glass made everything blurry, but he could still see enough. She pulled the baby close and began to sing. Soft and low. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Liam stirred, then smiled that same gummy smile. And something inside Michael broke, quietly, but completely. He didn't understand why, not yet. But he knew this moment meant something. He had spent 4 years trying to forget pain. Now, for the first time, he wanted to remember something real. Something worth feeling again. Michael didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed, staring at the city lights outside his penthouse window. The room was warm, quiet, and filled with luxury, but all he could think about was that car in the dark lot, and the way the girl sang to her son like he was the most important person in the world. He got up around 3 a.m., barefoot on cold marble, and poured himself a glass of water. Still, the image stayed in his mind, her wrapping leftover food like treasure, her soft voice, the baby's smile. The next morning, just after sunrise, Michael returned to the lot. He parked a little farther away and waited. It was cold. The kind of cold that seeped into your fingers. Around 7 a.m., the back door of the car creaked open. The girl stepped out, baby strapped to her chest. She stretched her arms, rubbed her neck, and crouched to change Liam's diaper right there in the back seat. Her hands moved quickly, like she'd done it 100 times. Her face looked tired. Not just from no sleep, but from carrying too much for too long. Still, she whispered to Liam, smiling softly as she kissed his cheek. Then she pulled out a small plastic tub filled with cleaning rags and bottles. She started walking. Michael followed at a distance, just like the night before. She stopped at a small cafe a few blocks away. The windows were dirty, fogged from the morning air. She pulled out a rag and began to wipe the glass. After a few minutes, the door opened and a man in an apron handed her a muffin and a couple of coins. "Thank you," she said with a nod. She sat on the curb, pulled Liam out of his carrier, and tore the muffin in half. One half for him, mashed gently with her fingers, the other half for herself. Michael watched from his car, heart heavy. She didn't beg. She didn't complain. She just worked with what she had, giving most of it to her son. He realized then, this wasn't someone waiting to be rescued. This was someone surviving, one kind stranger at a time. He watched her all day. She went from storefront to storefront, offering to clean windows or sweep sidewalks. Some people gave her coins. Some told her to leave. She never raised her voice, never asked twice. By sunset, she was back at the car, her shoulders sagging. Liam was asleep against her chest. Michael stepped out of his car slowly. He didn't want to scare her. As she opened the car door, she paused, sensing him before she saw him. She turned, holding Liam tighter. Her eyes were calm but cautious. "I'm not here to bother you," Michael said gently. "Or take anything. I just wanted to talk." She hesitated, then gave a small nod. "You followed me," she said. Michael didn't lie. "Yes." She looked at him for a moment. "Why?" He took a breath. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about your baby's smile after eating mashed potatoes." That made her blink. She wasn't expecting that answer. "What's his name again?" he asked, softer this time. "Liam." She adjusted the baby's blanket. "I'm Michael." She nodded but didn't speak. "You used to be in school, didn't you?" he asked. She looked surprised. "Yeah. Computer science." "What happened?" Michael asked, not pushing, just curious. She looked down at Liam. "I got pregnant. His dad told me to get an abortion. Said he wasn't ready. I kept the baby. My parents kicked me out when I wouldn't give him up." Her voice didn't shake. She wasn't looking for pity, just telling the truth. Michael looked at the old car behind her. "How long have you been living here?" "Almost 2 months," she said. "It's not much. But it's warm. And it's safe enough." Michael nodded. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I'm not offering you money," he said quickly. "Just this." She took it slowly and opened it. Her eyes widened. It was a reservation for a clean, safe motel room, paid for 2 weeks, no strings attached. "Why?" she asked. "For him," Michael said, pointing gently at Liam. "So he can sleep in a real bed. So you can rest." She looked at the paper, then at Michael, then at her son. For the first time, she looked tired enough to say yes. "Okay," she whispered. She didn't thank him. She didn't cry. She just nodded, and that was enough. That night, she stepped into the small motel room and closed the door behind her. It smelled of old curtains and cleaning spray, but it had clean sheets and working heat. She laid Liam on the bed and kissed his forehead. "We're safe now," she whispered. That night, she slept lying down for the first time in weeks, not curled up in the back seat of a car, not listening for footsteps. Just sleep. And Michael? He didn't sleep at all. At 5 a.m., Michael left a sealed bag outside the motel door. It held diapers, baby wipes, a small can of formula, a soft blanket, and a note with 2 words, for Liam. No name, no pressure. He walked away before she could see him. The next day, he did it again. A small thermos of tea, clean onesies, baby lotion. Every day, something new. He never knocked. Never waited for thanks. But he watched from a distance. She never threw anything away. She used every item with care. At first, she looked hesitant. Then slowly, she began to trust the gifts. Not because she trusted people, but because she trusted the quiet way he gave them. Without asking for anything. Michael didn't tell anyone. Not his assistant. Not his board. Not the press. This wasn't about him. It was about that moment at the restaurant, when a girl whispered for leftovers not for herself, but for her child. And somehow, that small request had cracked something open inside him. Every day he gave something new. And every day, he felt something return. Purpose, warmth, life. He didn't understand it fully. Not yet. But he knew this. Helping her felt more real than anything he'd done in years. One morning, Ada, yes, that was her name, noticed Liam wasn't acting like himself. He was fussier than usual, didn't finish his bottle, and seemed warm to the touch. She placed her hand on his forehead. Too hot. She tried to stay calm. Babies get fevers, she told herself. But as the day went on, he got worse. He wouldn't eat. His little body trembled slightly, and he whimpered even when she held him. By 9 p.m., his breathing felt too fast, his eyes too glassy. Ada couldn't wait anymore. She wrapped him tightly in a blanket, grabbed her phone and a bottle, and rushed out of the motel. The nearest hospital was 10 minutes away. She ran most of it. The emergency room was full. Ada stepped up to the desk, her voice shaking. "Please, he has a fever. He's only 8 months. He's not responding properly." The woman behind the desk barely looked up. "Do you have insurance?" "No," Ada said. The woman sighed, pulling out a clipboard. "Then you'll have to wait. Or go to county." "Please," Ada begged, tears in her eyes. "Just look at him." The woman didn't move. "We're full," she said with a shrug. That's when Ada stepped outside, stood under the hospital lights, and opened her phone. There was one contact she hadn't touched in days. She opened the thread, typed 2 words. "Help us." 6 minutes later, a black SUV came speeding into the hospital lot. The door flew open, and Michael jumped out. He wasn't wearing a suit this time, just jeans and a hoodie, but his eyes were sharp with purpose. He didn't ask questions. He didn't waste time. He just reached out his arms. Ada handed Liam over, her hands shaking. Michael looked at the baby's face, flushed, tired, limp. "It's okay," he said softly to Liam. Then he turned, stormed into the emergency room and walked straight to the front desk. "This child has a dangerous fever," he said, his voice calm but strong. "Treat him now. I'll cover everything. If you make me wait one more second, I'll buy this hospital and fire every person who ignored him." The receptionist blinked, stunned. Within moments, nurses appeared. A doctor was called. A bed was rolled out. Liam was rushed through the double doors, Ada right behind him. Michael sat down in the waiting room, breathing hard. He had no idea how long they waited, but when Ada came back out, her eyes were red. She sat beside him. She didn't say a word. She just leaned into him and let herself cry. Michael didn't speak. He didn't try to calm her or say it would be okay. He just wrapped his arm gently around her shoulders and let her fall apart. Ada hadn't cried like this since Liam was born. She had held everything in for so long. Fear, sadness, stress. But tonight, it all came out, and Michael didn't try to fix it. He just stayed. The waiting room felt too bright, too cold, too empty. But sitting next to him, Ada didn't feel alone anymore. A nurse came out an hour later. "He's stable," she said. "His fever broke. He'll need to stay the night for monitoring, but he's going to be okay." Ada let out a deep breath she hadn't even realized she was holding. Her shoulders dropped. She looked at Michael, eyes still wet. "Thank you," she whispered. "You came." He nodded. "Of course I did." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't know who else to text." "You didn't have to explain," Michael said. "I was already on my way." They both gave a small, tired smile. Ada leaned into him again, her head resting on his chest. And for the first time in a long time, she let someone hold her, really hold her. The next day, a photo began to spread online. It had been taken quietly in the waiting room, probably by someone walking past. It showed Michael sitting close beside Ada, her head leaning on his chest, his arm wrapped around her, their bodies still, like the storm had passed. The photo didn't tell the whole story, but that didn't stop the internet from making up one. Headlines exploded. Tech billionaire caught with mystery mother at midnight hospital visit. People assumed, guessed, twisted the truth. Some called her a gold digger. Some said she had tricked him. Others claimed it was the love story of the year. Ada sat on the motel bed, Liam sleeping beside her, reading the comments. She scrolled and scrolled, her chest tight. Every lie, every cruel word felt like a sharp stone. Her throat burned. She turned off the phone and sat in the dark, afraid even the glow from the screen might somehow hurt Liam. When Michael came the next morning with 2 cups of coffee and a bag of baby formula, he saw it right away. Her face was distant, her eyes cold again. She opened the door slowly. "I can't do this," she said. Michael froze. "Ada, I don't want my son growing up in the middle of a scandal," she said. "I don't want him seeing lies and wondering if they're true. I don't want him thinking he was a mistake." Michael put the coffee down carefully. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said. "Doesn't matter," she replied. "People don't care. They look at a picture, and they decide who you are." Michael was quiet for a moment. Then he said calmly, "Then let me tell them who you really are." Ada looked confused. "What do you mean?" "No PR teams. No statement. Just me. Speaking. The truth. On camera. One time. No edits." Ada blinked. "You'd do that?" He nodded. "You trusted me enough to ask for help when Liam was sick. I need you to trust me again." She looked over at Liam, asleep in the corner of the bed, then back at Michael. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no either. That night, the world was about to hear something very different. Not a story made of rumors, but one made of truth. The studio was small, quiet. No flashing lights, no dramatic music. Just 2 chairs, a calm host, and a single camera rolling. Michael sat straight but relaxed. The host, a woman known for honest interviews, gave him a small nod. "No scripts, right?" he confirmed. Just you, she said. Michael took a breath and began. I'm here because a photo went viral. But I'm not here to talk about that photo. I'm here to talk about the people in it. He looked directly at the camera. 4 years ago, I lost my wife and daughter in a car crash. I didn't speak about it. I didn't grieve in public. I just kept going. But inside, I was empty. He paused, voice low. Then, one night, I met a young mother. She asked for my leftovers. Not for herself, for her baby. His voice trembled slightly. That one moment, it brought something back. Her name is Ada. Her baby's name is Liam. She didn't ask for help. She didn't ask for attention. She just wanted to feed her son. He leaned forward. She didn't take from me. She gave me back a reason to care. There was silence in the studio. Then Michael finished, softly, I didn't save her. She saved me. The interview aired that evening. Within hours, the world shifted. Not just for Ada and Michael, but for thousands of others. Single mothers shared their stories. Nurses talked about the quiet strength of women like Ada. The internet, so quick to judge, stopped and listened. Really listened. Donations quietly flooded into women's shelters. People apologized in the comments. One woman in Kansas started a community fund in Ada's name. Through it all, Ada said nothing. She stayed quiet, taking care of Liam, staying out of the spotlight. Until the next morning. A soft knock on Michael's office door made him look up. Ada stood there, Liam in her arms. Her eyes were tired, but steady. I'm not running, she said. If you still want us, we're here. Michael didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He stepped aside, and for the first time, he didn't just open a door. He opened his life. Ada moved into a small apartment he helped her rent. Sunlight filled the space. Baby socks hung on the heater. Liam's drawings were taped to the fridge. Michael visited every day, no longer needing an excuse. They didn't define what they were. They didn't rush. They just showed up, for Liam, for each other. 1 year later, life looked different. Not louder. Not richer. Just fuller. The headlines were long gone. The man who once walked away from Ada never returned. But the man who stayed, Michael, was still there. Always. It was spring, and the grass in the park was soft beneath bare feet. Beneath the wide shade of an old oak tree, a small group gathered, just close friends and family. Liam, now walking and giggling, wore a tiny navy vest and bow tie. In his hands, he held a velvet box. He toddled toward Michael, who knelt under the tree in a soft gray blazer. "Thank you, buddy," Michael whispered, taking the box from his son's hands. He turned as Ada walked across the grass. Her white dress was simple, flowing. Her curls were pinned back with tiny flowers Liam had picked that morning. Michael dropped to one knee. "I had everything money could buy," he said. "But none of it mattered. Until you. Until Liam. Until we became a family." He opened the box. A simple gold ring. "Will you marry me?" Ada smiled through tears. "Yes." She dropped to her knees and hugged him tightly. Liam ran into their arms, laughing. And under the branches of that old tree, they held each other close. Not perfect, not flashy, but real. A family, born not from chance, but from choice, from love. Kindly subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories like this.